what Barbie or Ken are you planning to dress up as? So best Barbie or Ken win a prize. And I'm working hard to get some really great giveaways, really great things that you might want. So you'll definitely want to come, definitely want to dress up. We will all be in theme because, you know, in early learning, we like to scream the theme over here. So I will be dressed as a Barbie. Julie will be dressed as a Barbie, right, Julie?
Yes, I actually ordered me some hot pink leather pants or
Awesome.
pleather. I guess it's pleather.
Oh, that's gonna be so
Yes,
fun. So I can't wait to see you guys there. I'm really excited to see our Kens. So thank you, and I hope to see everybody there. All right, so our important updates. As I mentioned, quarter 3 runs from January 8th until March 8th. There has been one major change, and that is that the mid-year testing window has been shortened from 4 weeks to 2 weeks. So the testing window is now January 9th until January 19th.
19.
In an effort to support you, we're going to have a CLI refresher course on January 8th. This is the day before assessments begin, and you can type this bit.ly into your browser, but you still have to be logged in with your Dallas ISD credentials in order to register in Cornerstone. So this is the link for all of our PD sessions. They'll all be listed there, and we have 2 CLI refresher sessions being offered. One is from 10 a.m. to 11:30 and one from 12:30 to 2. So we have 2 sessions, one from 10 to 11:30 and one from 12:30 to 2. Okay, so you can scan this or just save this. It's bit.ly/prekpd in all caps. The mid-year circle assessment guide can be found in Curriculum Central under quick links here at the bottom. And if you click on the suggested schedule here, you'll see the updated pacing guide. I know it's quick. You have the option to begin observable checklists on the virtual day on that January 8th, since the students don't need to be there if you want an extra day for testing at the end here. You'll just have to make sure that you're assessing students during at least 2 of the session blocks. I'm sorry, 2 of the session blocks per day. So during the literacy block, you're testing, during the language or math block, you're testing as well. So they've been broken up here, block 1 or block 2. Just make sure to test during both blocks, 2 blocks per day. Any questions about that before I move on? Does everyone know where to find the guide? Or do we need to put the link in the chat?
So we had a question about it just being 2 weeks.
Yes, it is 2 weeks. I did not change that, so don't shoot the messenger. But the reasoning for that is they're wanting to make sure that we're able to turn around the data quicker so that we can use it for to inform our work. So.
Yo no sé si tengo que poner el camera.
No, you're good.
Make sure to mute your mics, please. All right, so we're going to go into the quarter 3 preview. We're currently working on the lesson plans, IPCs, and centers for quarter 3, which is a lot of work, so bear with us. The focus of this session will be to give you an overview of the themes and the guiding questions and just highlight any of the extra materials that you're going to need. So those will be on the slides. Even if I don't mention them directly, I will try, but there's a lot of info, so just keep an eye out. I didn't list everything that you'll need, like crayons, paper in most instances, but I did list other things you might not have or might need to gather. So in quarter 3, we'll finish out theme 4 with week 4 animal features. Then we go into theme 6, healthy me.
Okay, and then
I'm sorry, theme 5, healthy me, and theme 6, let's create. During the first week back from winter break, students are finishing theme 4, week 4 with animal features. And this is, you'll notice we're testing as soon as we get back. For the literacy block, students will read, "What am I?" This week, the guiding questions are, which animals in the book have feathers? What features help animals stay safe? And which animal feature would you like to have if you could? For the literacy small group, students will be focusing on letters Y and Z, identifying rhyming words, making their own animals out of Play-Doh, and they will be sorting animals into groups of 2 and 4 feet. So materials to gather, you'll need a paper bag, these specific toys, fox, fox, dog, snake, cat, goat, Play-Doh, index cards, masking tape, and other art supplies. For language, students will read I am a cat. This week, the guiding questions are, what are some features that cats have? How are some cats different from others? And if you were a cat, what feature would you most want to have? For the language small group, you will not need to gather any extra materials. Students will sort pictures of animals into groups of cats or not cats, talk about the features of shapes and sort them into groups of triangles or not triangles, discuss different kinds of cats, and answer questions about what makes them special and compare different animals' feet and what they do. For the math block, students will read creature features. This week, the guiding questions are, what features do some animals in this book have? How do the animals in this book use their features? And what are some animal features that you also have? For the math small group, students will sort items and then sort animals by features. They will share what they wonder about different animals, count connecting cubes and represent ducks, and count connecting cubes that represent ducks and discuss if the groups have the same or different number, and they will work in pairs to separate frogs into equal groups. So for the math block, you'll need just a collection of items, whether that's buttons or rocks, some connecting cubes, and blue paper to make your frog pond. Theme 5 is Healthy Me. We have week 1, My Body, week 2, Let's Eat, week 3, students learn about taking care, and week 4, Safe and Sound. We continue testing that second week, January 16th through the 19th. Theme 5, week 1 is My Body. For the literacy block, students will read Happy in Our Skin. This week, the guiding questions are, what does our skin do? What is special about our skin? And how can we move in the skin we're in? For the literacy small group, students will be playing a game naming letters and sounds, drawing themselves as happy babies and then happy pre-K children. They'll build something clever with connecting cubes and then compare what they made to that of a friend. And they will play Simon Says, moving parts of their bodies. So for this, for literacy, you'll need to make a game sheet for each child, and it's listed here, 2x4 grid marked with B, D, J, and K, magnetic letters, paper bag, cubes, paper folded in half, and connecting cubes. For the language block, students will read My Body. This week, the guiding questions are, what body parts help us move? What does your brain do? And what body parts are under your skin? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of different things and sort them into 2 groups, body parts or not body parts. They'll look at pictures of people and answer questions about some routines we follow when we communicate. They'll look at pictures and answer questions about what makes each body part important. And on Thursday, students will outline their entire bodies and color them in. So for that, you'll need large sheets of drawing paper or probably white butcher paper, and markers or crayons, since they'll be outlining their entire bodies. For the math block, students will read I Got Rhythm. This week, the guiding questions are, what body parts are named in the story? How does the girl use her body parts to make a rhythm? And which body part do you like to use to make a rhythm? For the math small group, students will make a pattern with connecting cubes, work with a friend to create a pattern of movements, and count the number of connecting cubes in a line. For week 2, January 22nd through the 26th, the theme is Let's Eat. This is a great time to discuss the importance of a healthy and balanced diet. For the literacy block, students will read From Our Hands. This week, the guiding questions are, what fruits and vegetables do you like to eat? how do farm workers help everyone, and how do farm workers help you get the food you like to eat. For the literacy small group, students will look at pictures of fruits and vegetables and talk about the letters and sounds for P, T, V, and Z. Students will make letters out of play clay and they will pretend to make a fruit salad. And just a reminder, I believe farmer is one of our CLI words, so that's a great time to make sure we're teaching that as well. For the language block, students will read Before We Eat. This week, the guiding questions are, what foods come from farms? How do farmers and workers get food to your dinner table? And if you could have any job in this book, which job would it be? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of people and sort them into two groups, farmer or not a farmer. They'll discuss routines and how they keep students safe and healthy, look at pictures of problems and identify solutions, and make inferences about whether or not a food pictured is a fruit. For the math block, students will read Baby Goes to Market. This week, the guiding questions are, what is one food baby gets at the market? What is one way baby feels at the market? And if you went to the market, what healthy food would you buy? For the math small group, students will count and add, saying how many in all, sort pictures of people by whether they're happy or sad, and count the number in each pile. For this, you'll need some magnetic numerals and number cards if you don't have them. Theme 5, week 3 is taking care. For the literacy block, students will read, how do dinosaurs get well soon? This week, the guiding questions are, what happens when a dinosaur gets the flu? What can a dinosaur do to get well soon? And what might children do if they get the flu? For the literacy small group, students will focus on the letters F, L, and M. They will make Stegosaurus dinosaurs and use them to discuss moving carefully when near each other. They'll make get well cards for a sick dinosaur while focusing on rhyming words. And they will discuss and follow directions to washing their hands. So for this small group, you'll need to prepare in advance a paper Stegosaurus puppet. And then you'll also need to gather some half paper plates, paper triangles, and just some scraps and other materials so that they can make their own puppet. For the language block, students will read what a cold needs. This week, the guiding questions are, what could you do when you have a cold? What can you do to feel better when you have a cold? And when you have a cold, what can you do to get your mind off of it? For the language small group, students will sort pictures into two groups, things that are good for a cold and things that are bad for a cold. They will look at pictures and act out what they can do with an object to take care of themselves when they have a cold. So there's things like tissue boxes, and even like this picture here, drinking soup. Students will use red and blue Play-Doh to demonstrate how germs are spread. And students will follow directions to pretend to wash their hands. It says red and blue, but you could use any two colors, really. For the math block, students will read dentists and what they do. This week, the guiding questions are, what is one thing a dentist does? What is one thing the boy does when he goes to the dentist? And what is one thing you can do to keep your teeth healthy? For the math small group, students will count connecting cube teeth up to 20. They will act out a visit to the dentist with a partner, discuss what order means and practice counting cubes in a different order, and correct you when you make a mistake counting to 20. Theme 5, week 4 is safe and sound. For the literacy block, students will read, please play safe. The guiding questions are, what does Penguin want his friends to do at the playground? Why does Penguin want his friends to follow the rules? And which safety lesson do you think is the most important and why? For the literacy small group, students will focus on the letters N, R, and X. They will match magnetic letters to pictures based on the sound the word begins with, use a ball to practice taking turns, and hold up a red light or green light to indicate whether the child pictured is being safe or not. So you'll need to gather a ball if you don't have one in your classroom, some red and green crayons for the traffic lights, and then some magnetic letters and paper. For the language block, students will read the big book, How Do Dinosaurs Stay Safe? This week, the guiding questions are, how can you stay safe at home? What are some ways to stay safe outside? And what did you learn from the dinosaurs about staying safe? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of people and answer questions about how they are being safe. Students will discuss how they're feeling, look at pictures of children, and sort them into groups of happy or not happy. And this is a great time to talk about just being, our mental health, right? Like doing things that make us mentally healthy, like our breathing strategies and just different mindful moments that we do that help us stay healthy mentally as well. And that's why they're talking about, whether you're happy or not and emotions. Students will look at pictures of people being safe and tell whether the person is being safe inside or outside. They'll look at pictures and say if a child in the picture is being safe or not being safe as well. So some other topics. What are some other important safety topics to discuss this week? Drop it in the chat. This is one of my favorite weeks to teach, because you can just add in so many other important safety topics.
All right, so we could talk about the fire drill, hot and cold foods, staying safe in an emergency, lockdown discussions.
Super important.
Yes. Safety walking on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Stranger danger.
My favorite time to discuss stranger danger as well. Thank you for all of those important safety topics. I'll also add safety with materials in the classroom, scissors, like how to safely use scissors in the classroom, because we know that's important for their fine motor development, but just teaching them how to use it safely, even using a helmet when you're riding a bike or skating. And that's another CLI word as well, even though it looks a little bit different, right? The one pictured in CLI is a football helmet. So there's another thing, is safety when playing sports and wearing, safety equipment. Car safety is one of my favorite ones. Making sure that you're buckled in, that you're using a booster seat. I mean, we can only tell them so much, right? It's up to their parents, but it's important to let them know that that's important. Kitchen safety, and safety in large groups, like if you're at the fair or at the airport. This is my favorite time to discuss that too. Like, what should you do if you get lost, and who should you look for, and who can you trust, right? So if they are not with their parent, who can they go to? And I generally would say look for a police person, a police officer, or someone in uniform, or generally someone who works there, like if they're at an airport, I would look for an airline attendant or somebody like that. And for that person that said fire drill, thank you. We're also reading fire drill in the math block. The guiding questions are, what happens during a fire drill? How do we keep track of all the children during a fire drill? And how do fire drills help us stay safe and sound? So it's the perfect time to practice those drills, not just fire, but also tornado drills or lockdown drills, and just make sure your students are prepared. It's also one of the first things we teach, right? Like the first week of school, teaching these drills so students are not caught off guard or afraid when they do hear sirens. They know what's going on. For the math small group, students will answer questions using location words. They'll practice following your instructions to move very carefully in a game of science, Simon Says, and compare two types of items and see which has more by arranging them in a graph. So for this, you'll need just 2 unequal amounts of manipulatives. It can be anything, and painter's tape. It says in a graph too, so I would think also some sticky notes, which I might not have put here. Did anyone have questions about Healthy Me before I move on? Because I know I'm going pretty quickly. Okay, theme 6 is Let's Create. We have week 1, which is Tell a Tale. Week 2 is Sing and Dance. Week 3, Picture This. Week 4, Build It. Theme 6, week 1 is Tell a Tale. For the literacy block, students will read Little Nita's Big Idea. The guiding questions are, how do the neighbors help Nita? What is special about Nita's fruit salad? And if you were Nita's neighbor, what would you do? For the literacy small group, students will focus on the letters H and Q. They will name words that begin with H and Q, make a paper pizza, sort pictures of fruit into piles of 1 fruit or 2 fruits, and practice storytelling from the big chart of big ideas. So for this, you'll prepare a 6-inch white paper circle and some crumpled tissue paper in red and white, and glue for your sauce, pizza sauce, and cheese. Now, I would probably add like veggies and things like that. So, but this is all they call for. So this is the minimum, but students are going to be able to make their own pizzas. And then it says you need 2 paper plates. For the language block, students will read The Rooster Who Would Not Be Quiet. This week, the guiding questions are, what happened after Don Pepe made the laws? What did Don Pepe take away from the gallito? What happened when the gallito kept singing? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of different words and express them through actions. They'll look at pictures of people with different feelings and decide if the picture shows conflict or no conflict. They'll look at pictures and figure out if the picture shows something quiet or not quiet. And students will also hear parts of a story and determine whether or not the story was told in the correct order. Okay, so there's lots of sorting in the language blocks. For the math block, students will read Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. This week, the guiding questions are, what is one thing Goldilocks does in the story? What do the bears do when they come home? And if the bears invited you into their home, what would you do there? For the math small group, students will order pictures of objects by size, find objects in the classroom to compare to the palm of their hand that are too long or too short and just right. Students will create a large and small pattern using pattern blocks, and they will build a house that a character would be comfortable living in using connecting cubes. So for this, you'll need some pattern blocks and connecting cubes. Theme 6, week 2 is Sing and Dance. For the literacy block, students will read the big book, Every Bunny Dance. The guiding questions are, in what ways do the animals have fun? What are some ways the animals dance? And what are some ways we sing, dance, and play like the bunnies? For the literacy small group, students will focus on letters W and Y. They will draw things that begin with the letters W and Y. They will choose different steps to make up a dance, 3 different steps to make up a dance, and they will blend phonemes to make animal names and choose an animal mask to make. So I added here a link to these printable masks, because you'll need to make a mask of a dog, a fox, and a cat. And it says really to just get some fox ears or, like animal ears and adhere them to a plate. So it's up to you. I added this link here. And if you don't mind dropping that in the chat, Julie, you're free to use this or use parts of it, cut out the ears, whatever you want, or not at all. So it's fine if you just do the animal mask with the plate. I'm just not very sure how to make a fox out of a plate, so I thought that would be helpful. And then for this, you're also going to need to prepare index cards with these words printed on them. So the words are goat, coat, duck, truck, chick, stick, cat, hat, dog, and log, because students will be practicing rhyming pairs. For the language block, students will read row, row, row your boat. This week, the guiding questions are, what do you say when you see someone you know? What animals did the dog and cat meet on their trip? And how does music help us learn? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of different animals and decide if those are the animals the cat and dog met as they rowed their boat down the stream. Students will look at pictures of people transitioning and guess what the people are going to do next. They will look at pictures of things and sort them together with other things that rhyme. And they will look at pictures of animals and sort them into groups of farm animals or not farm animals. For the math block, students will read every little thing. This week, the guiding questions are, how do people in the story feel? How do the people in the story feel? How does the music change how the people in the book feel? And what part of the song in the book reminds you of your life? For the math small group, students will match pictures of objects with shapes. They will invite a partner to work with them to draw shapes and as many things as they can think of that look like that shape. Students will spot the mistake the teacher makes in a pattern with connecting cubes, and students will build a pattern with shapes. For week 3, it's picture this. For the literacy block, students will read Vincent paints his house. The guiding questions are, how did Vincent's house change? Why did Vincent keep changing the color of his house? And why was everyone happy after Vincent painted his house? For the literacy small group, students will focus on the letters T, A, and M. They will match the pictures on the activity cards with those letters. They'll make a plan and create their own houses just like Vincent did, but out of modeling clay. And students will make stories together using words found at the end of the books, Toucan Can Talk, The Attic, and My Mess. And children will express themselves by making up a new kind of animal and drawing a picture of it. So for this, you'll need some index cards, modeling clay, and these small group cards that come in the literacy box, Toucan Can Talk, The Attic, and My Mess. For the language block, students will read Ish. This week, the guiding questions are, how does Marisol feel about Ramon's art? What lesson does Ramon learn about making art? And does art have to be perfect? Why or why not? For the language small group, students will look at pictures of paintings and choose which one they would place on their wall. Students will look at pictures and tell a story about what is happening. They will do some loose, worry-free drawing, and they will suggest their own definitions of the verbs paint, sculpt, and draw. For the math block, students will read Morigami. This week, the guiding questions are, what is one thing Joey folded in the story? How did Joey learn to make origami? And what can you do to become a master of something? For the math small group, students will guess the shape as the teacher gives hints to describe it. They'll follow directions to make an origami ladybug, pull shapes from a bag and sort them into piles of flat or not flat. And they will also sculpt or create something new with modeling clay. Then they'll sort their creations into groups and make a graph. So for this, you will need many square pieces of paper for each child to fold. You will probably want to practice that origami ladybug. Copies of the pages 32 and 35 of Morigami, which show you how to make it. several 2D and 3D shapes and a bag, and then modeling clay, Play-Doh, connecting cubes, drawing materials, a large piece of paper, chart paper, and sticky notes to make your graph. Theme 6, week 4 is Build It. For the literacy block, students will read Ready, Set, Build. The guiding questions are, what are the dog and the bird building together? How do the dog and the bird stay safe while they're building? And what steps does the dog follow to build his house? For the literacy small group, students will focus on the letters S, F, and P. Students will sort cards by beginning sounds and rhymes. So there are photos of a pan and a fan. So you would sort those into rhyming, or pan and pin, and those are your beginning sounds. Students will practice empathy, showing empathy by asking how someone is feeling. They'll have a conversation about classroom safety and make a poster board with 3 classroom safety rules that came out of that conversation. And they will think of materials that rabbits could have used instead of straw, sticks, and bricks, but only use materials that start with the letters S, F, or P. So you may want to brainstorm some of those. For this, you'll need to get a poster board and some drawing supplies. For the language block, students will read The Little Red Fort. The guiding questions are, how do people work together to build something? How can working with others help you solve problems? And how can working together make it easier to build something? For the language small group, students will take turns digging for letters and determine if the letter appears in their names. They will use blocks to make a fort. They will look at pictures of different items and give a thumbs up if Ruby used them to build her fort. And students will look at pictures of objects and guess what kind of material they're made of. For this, you'll need a large bowl, some magnetic letters, a plastic scooper, pieces of paper with each child's name on them, and wooden blocks, 3 rectangles, 6 squares, and 2 triangles. For the math block, students will read Build Birds a Nest. Oh, I put the wrong picture. Sorry, guys. The read aloud is Bird Builds a Nest. This week, the guiding questions are, what did Bird need to do to build her nest? What makes Bird's nest cozy? And why did Bird build a nest? For the math small group, students will use a 5 frame to count twigs and say how many are needed to make 5. If you don't have twigs, you can use pipe cleaners. Students will solve the number stories using a 5 frame and count pillows on a bed using 2 color counters. They will also use connecting cubes to represent bags of straw, sticks, and bricks that the rabbit has and say how many more the rabbit needs to have 5 altogether. So you'll need a pile of 10 twigs or pipe cleaners to use as twigs, colored tape to make a 5 frame, 2 color counters, and then 3 colors of connecting cubes. That was a lot. Do you guys have any questions about the next 9 weeks? Or do you need me to go back? Going once, going twice. If anything comes up, you let me know, Julie, okay? So that brings me to our pre-K conference. Saturday, February 24th, 2024 is our pre-K conference. We're about 2/3 capacity right now, so go secure your spot now. If you can't attend all day, that's okay. You can earn up to 5 hours of PD credit, but you'll get credit for only the sessions that you attend. So if you attend 2 sessions and you have to leave, you'll get the 2 hours of PD credit. Or if you can't make it till later in the day, that's fine too. Here's the bit.ly. It's bit.ly/itsaprekworld in all caps. Or you can just find it in Cornerstone by searching pre-K conference. We plan to have breakfast, lunch, and giveaways, as well as door prizes. So in the chat, I want to know what kind of giveaway prizes you would like to see at the conference. And I'm writing this down, so don't be shy. If you're coming and you want some prizes, let me know what you want. Drop it in the chat. And I'm writing
Money?
it. Sorry?
They want money.
Yeah, I want money too. I wish I could
Gift
give you
cards.
money. Gift cards
Gift
to where?
cards. They didn't specify. They did say manipulatives.
What kind of
Someone said
manipulatives? For math?
Lakeshore gift cards, Starbucks, a colored printer. One says smelly markers. Smelly markers are fun.
Mm-hmm. I have some.
Whiteboards,
So whiteboards?
laminating film.
Yes.
I'm assuming like the little packets for the
Mhm.
smaller laminators.
Mm-hmm.
Target gift cards,
Mm-hmm.
blocks.
Like wooden blocks?
I'm assuming, yes. Classroom makeover.
We do room arrangements.
I do. Just talk to your pre-K specialist that's on if they're there at your campus. And we'll try to arrange it, work it in.
Mhm. There's also going to be a session at the pre-K conference called Classrooms That Sparkle. So if you're trying to figure out a way to kind of revamp your classroom and organize and make it look its best and increase teacher productivity while you're at it, that's a session to look out for. For manipulatives, are we talking connecting cubes, counting bears, magnetic letters? What are we talking about?
Someone did say math manipulatives.
Math.
So I think
Okay.
that would kind of be included in that. Someone said
That I can do. I
Play-Doh.
have that.
Play-Doh big magnets for the letter wall. Those are nice. They're kind of expensive, but they're nice.
You said big magnets for the letter wall?
The big, like the heavy duty, super strong magnets for the ones
You have
that don't
to-
have wall space, but they can use, if their board's magnetic, they can use the little hooks or magnets to put their letter wall up.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see, someone said the little tiny dry erasers. Someone said a new rug. That would be really nice.
Where's that? Who needs a new rug?
Miss Jones. I don't know if it's Miss Jones or Mr. Jones. It just says S. Jones.
Miss Jones needs a new rug. Okay. All right. Well, that gives me a lot to work with, guys. So I guess, I'll have to go shopping, but you'll have to be there to receive it because you don't come, you lose out. Okay. So go register for the conference. I cannot wait to see you. I promise we're going to have giveaways. So please come. And just have fun. It's going to be amazing. Make sure to dress up if you want to. I mean, we're in pre-K, so we're all probably going to dress up. And thank you for your input. So our upcoming PD sessions that you'll want to make note of, you can get to them all again with this bit.ly/pre-KPD for all of our sessions. That's all caps, or you can just search Cornerstone for 2023, 2024 pre-K, and it'll come up. January 8th is our next session, and we're doing a CLI circle refresher. It's virtual. We have two sessions, one at 10 a.m. and one at 12:30 p.m. They're an hour and a half, 90 minutes long. We have Mastering Your Pre-K Environment on February 19th, which is a PD day, also from 10 to 11:30 and 12:30 to 2, two different sessions. You only need to attend one. And then for our new teachers, we have New Teacher Academy, February 22nd, and we're doing phonological awareness basics in person at Molina High School and WT White High School, where we had the last NTA session. And that's again from 4:30 to 8 p.m. You will get more information about this from academic services. So they will let you know where you're assigned to if you're a new teacher and new to the district. Now, again, our conference, up to 5 hours of PD credit. If you want to knock it out in one day, we can have some amazing sessions available. And you know what I didn't do here that I did for the last group that I forgot? Is I'm gonna let you in on what sessions, a few of our sessions that you can expect to see since you came to this training. So I'm not sharing anymore, am I?
No, it's just, well,
It's the blank screen.
yeah.
Okay.
I was also going to say on January the 8th, we are going to be offering an hour session for teacher assistants.
Oh, yeah.
The
Forgot
ways
about
that they can support your classroom with keeping class in mind. You know, that class observational tool, the visits that we get twice a year. So we would love for teacher assistants to log on to that. I think it's going to be 8 to 9 when we come back on January the 8th. And I'm sure
Yes.
information will be coming out on that with the links and stuff as well.
I actually put it up on Curriculum Central, so I can just show that too. Let's see if this is it. Oh, let me see if I share here. Oh, I think it's fifth here. Yeah. So they're right here. Can you see the Curriculum Central?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so everything is linked here. Down here, you on the main page or even on either one. So if you're in Pre-K-4, it's also here. I just added these. So for this is what Julie was talking about for the teacher assistants, supporting the pre-K classroom with class. And then the Cornerstone link to register is here. Okay. And then let me see if I can just pull this over. Oh, there's too much going on my computer. It's freezing. It's frozen. Well, Julie, can you take control because I'm frozen over here? And if you can show the attendance slide and I'll pull up my paper copy of the session so I can do that while you do that.
Let me see if it will let me.
So some of our session titles for the conference are Science in the Pre-K Classroom. Pre-K does not compromise Tier 1 instruction. Estrategias para pasar del control a la conexión en el aula de clases. That one's in Spanish. Reimagining the classroom, transforming waste into educational wonder with upcycling practices and techniques. That's given by an art teacher. Understanding basic brain functions and social emotional connection, cultural celebrations in pre-K, computer science for pre-K, phonological awareness in the classroom. So those are just some of the sessions that we're going to choose from. So we'll have 24 sessions for you to choose from. Okay, so can't wait to see you there.